Hello there, my name is Todd Bowman. I just wanted to stop by and kind of go over some things I think a lot of bass players are curious about, but maybe some bass players may not be aware of the impact that arpeggios can have on your playing. When we first approach someone to instruct us about music, one of the top things that person is going to say, that musician is going to say, is understand a scale, like a major scale. So we've heard that probably a few times, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Now we know that is the identification of a major key, but what does that mean in terms of playing? I remember when I was studying music, when I first started really breaking into it, and I came in contact with the major scale, I was glad to know it, but I didn't understand the significance of what it meant to know that information, that scale. So we're going to take a look at it. And I got out the 4 strings so it would be easier to see exactly what I'm doing. One of the things that helped me was first, I had to understand the major scale. Now we're in the key of G, which means we have 1 sharp, that's F sharp, everything else is natural. But to understand an arpeggio, the first thing we need to do is understand a chord. You can do a chord, the most common would be the triads with 3 notes in it. You can do dyads, just 2-note chords. But when we start getting into arpeggios, the best way to handle that would be to understand the triad, the 3-note chord. Now, as we break this down, what an arpeggio is if we take G, B, and D, the 3 notes that make a chord, in this case, G, B, and D would be G major 1 chord. That's also where we get our walking patterns. As a pianist or a guitarist will play the chord all at once, bass sometimes, most of the time, will either just hit the note of the root itself, or we can walk with the 3rd and the 5th. And what we're doing is we're basically just doing a walking pattern of the chord itself. That's really what it is. Because one thing that people need to understand about bass is you're playing the guitarist or the pianist's notes, but you're also playing the drummer's beats. And that's where this walking thing came into play. How do we maintain a beat but yet stay in key? That's where that came from. So all I did there was I went to the 6th and then I went to the octave and back down to my 5th, my 3rd, and my G. So now we understand that. We have a grasp of that. So what we need to do is we need to look at G, B, and D. And we need to kind of put B over here for just a minute. G, B, D. There it is, our triad. And then we have G, B, D. So really I'm just playing the same thing in 2 octaves. G, B, and D. The only reason we're going to be here is so that we can fall into that D note in that G and get it much more efficiently. And that's how it'll sound when you get fluent with it. The thing you'll have trouble with is when you're picking upward is these 2 notes here. Just make sure you're alternating your fingers on your right hand. See that? So once you understand that, then you can go like say this is G, for example. What about A? A is the next note in the scale. It also, because it also has 3 notes. So we're just in the second position of G. So we're going to go A, C, and E. That would be the minor triad there. Because what happens is when you go from the A, the major, the next chord structure is minor, and it's actually Dorian mode. But since we're just playing the triads, all we need to know of that right now is A, C, and E, and A, C, and E. So it really brings, your music to life. How does it bring your music to life? Well, I'll give you an example. We know that in G major we have G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. What if I just went to D over here? One of the notes in G. I don't always have to be on G to be in the key of G. But what if I went to D? See, because I understood the scale, I was able to make instant music just off the top of my head, and that is the advantage you're after. That is what you're seeking as a musician, to know enough to be able to create good music instantly. But we can't achieve that without practice. We must first learn it in our head. Then we take what's in our head to the fretboard. So when we go to the next note, G, A, B, right here, it's also minor, so the scale will be the same. B, D, and F sharp is your triad. 1, 3, 5 on that. B, D, F sharp. B, D, F sharp. You see where I'm getting that? See that? Notice how it stayed minor. That had that minor sound, but yet we're in a major key. You see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? So when you understand that, look at what it has done. Look at what it's done for my playing. So the core of it, of what we're learning, now right there is C, G, A, B, C. We're on the 4th position of G major. So we're looking at C, E, and G as the triad, then C, E, and G is the triad. And it's major. So I can go. I can get right. I can go to another note. I can start out in C. Make up a bunch of stuff that's in the scale. Go right into another note that's also in the key of G, but yet it's not C now. So we went. So you can just do anything. Once you understand that and you practice that, it will improve your playing. So, that's pretty much what I wanted to share today. I just thought that was extremely relevant. So it just makes it kind of exciting. Like I said, 1, 3, 5, and then 1, 3, 5 again. It's the same thing up here, just higher. Once you understand where your 1, 3, 5 in every scale, because you got G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. So there is an arpeggio for each one of those. We've learned 4 of them. There's a total of 7. The 8th one is simply the same thing. Whoops. That's G right there at the end of it. You see that? Once you get familiar with it, it's not much, but it is very helpful for you to be able to see the scale. So when I get out on stage, I know exactly what I want to do and how I want to do it as a bassist. Keeping that beat, playing those notes, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And that's what bass is about. And so once we understand that, we can do things like that. We make it far more interesting. So, those things will help you. Work on arpeggios. They're fun. Once you get them down, they're not this big obstacle that they appear to be. It's just a matter of knowing them and, more importantly, practicing them. I'm Todd Bowman. Rock on, bass players.